r/pettyrevenge. Family wanted a boy so badly, I destroyed their announcement. #Chunk1, The Discovery. I found out I was pregnant on a Tuesday morning in our cramped apartment bathroom, staring at two pink lines while my coffee got cold in the kitchen. My hands were shaking, not entirely from shock, but mostly from this overwhelming sense of rightness. I was 22, sure, and maybe we'd planned this about as well as two people fresh out of college could, but as I sank onto the bathroom tile, all I felt was joy. Pure, unadulterated joy. My husband Marcus was thrilled when I told him that evening. He picked me up and spun me around in the living room, knocked over a lamp, which we'd never actually fixed from our move-in, and immediately started talking about nursery themes and whether we'd find out the baby's sex early. We'd been married barely a year, but we were doing this. We were actually doing this. The first sign that things weren't going to be simple came 3 days later. My mother-in-law, Patricia, called while I was at work. Not to congratulate me properly, but to inform me, and I mean inform, not ask, that she'd already purchased several baby items and wanted to know my address so she could drop them off that weekend. I tried to be gracious about it. Tried to laugh it off as her being excited. She meant well, didn't she? That's what I kept telling myself. When the boxes arrived Saturday morning, I opened them in our bedroom while Marcus showered. Blue. Everything was blue. Not a neutral yellow. Not soft greens or gentle grays. Royal blue, navy blue, baby blue. There were 3 complete crib sheet sets, a mobile with elaborate sailing ships, a dresser organizer with anchors embroidered on it, and, I kid you not, a onesie that said Future CEO in bold block letters. The price tags were still on everything. She hadn't even pretended to think about what I might want. Hey, babe, look what my mom got us. Marcus called from the bathroom, wrapping a towel around his waist as he padded out to see the haul. His face lit up. Oh, this is awesome. She really went all out. It's all blue, I said, and I know my tone wasn't great because Marcus's smile faltered. Yeah, but we don't know the baby's sex yet. We could find out at the next ultrasound if you want. I know we don't know. I was trying not to sound snippy, really trying. But what if we're having a girl? Then we'll find out and get some pink stuff, Marcus said with the casual certainty of someone who'd never been reduced to a specific biological function. My mom was just being nice. She probably just assumed. Assumed we'd be having a boy, I finished. Because that's what families like yours want, apparently. He looked genuinely confused by my irritation, which somehow made it worse. The real problem emerged 2 weeks later. I'd gone to my OB appointment alone that day. Marcus had a work thing he couldn't get out of, but we'd made a pact to find out the baby's sex at the next visit. I was buzzing with anticipation the entire ultrasound, watching the little blob on the screen that was becoming more clearly a person with each passing week. When the technician asked if we wanted to know, I said yes without hesitation. Congratulations, she said with a warm smile. You're having a girl. A girl. I was going to have a daughter. The joy that flooded through me was almost spiritual. I texted Marcus immediately, *, it's a girl. We're having a daughter, * with approximately 17 heart emojis. His response came back within seconds, that's great babe. And then nothing. I waited all day for him to elaborate, but he seemed oddly quiet when he got home. He gave me a kiss, asked about the appointment, congratulated me again on a girl, and then disappeared into his office. I figured he was just tired from work. That was Friday. By Sunday, I'd figured out what was actually going on. Marcus's parents came over for dinner that night. We'd invited them specifically to share the news in person. Patricia actually gasped when we told her, and not in a good way. It was the kind of gasp that sounds like disappointment trying to masquerade as something else. A girl, she repeated, and her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Well, that's wonderful. What wasn't wonderful was overhearing her in our kitchen while Marcus was walking his father to the car. I was supposed to be in the living room, but I'd come back to grab the dessert plates, and the kitchen door was only partially closed. I mean, of course it's a blessing, Patricia was saying, her voice low and urgent. But you know how important it is to carry on the family name, Marcus. We talked about this. If it's a girl this time, you two really need to plan to try again quickly. Don't wait too long. You're young, you can do back-to-back pregnancies. Get a boy on the next one. My stomach dropped. I stood frozen, a stack of dessert plates in my hands, feeling like I couldn't breathe. Marcus. My Marcus. Instead of telling his mother that was insane, that I was a person with my own body and choices, that we didn't need to plan pregnancies like a breeding schedule, he just agreed with her. Yeah, I know, he'd said. We'll definitely talk about having another one soon after. Make sure we get a boy in there. Get a boy in there. Like I was a factory. Like my hopes, my body, my autonomy had nothing to do with it. Like we could just pencil in another pregnancy on the calendar while I recovered from childbirth and adjusted to being a new mother. I set the plates down silently on the counter and walked out of that kitchen. I didn't say goodbye to Patricia. I didn't kiss Marcus when he came back in. I just went to bed and lay there in the dark, feeling something inside me crystallize into cold, hard certainty. I wasn't going to be treated like this. Not by his family, and especially not while he sat back and let it happen. By Monday morning, I had a plan. #Chunk2, the plan. I didn't sleep much that night, and I didn't sleep much the next night either. What I did do was think. And plan. And slowly, methodically, work through the details of what needed to happen. The thing about being angry for the right reasons is that it clarifies everything. All the little frustrations I'd been pushing down, Patricia's unsolicited advice about my diet, her comments about how I should be careful not to let myself go during pregnancy, her assumption that I'd automatically take Marcus's last name, which, fine, I did, but I would have appreciated being asked, the way she spoke about my body like it was family property, suddenly all of it made sense. It was part of a pattern. A systematic pattern of treating me like an incubator rather than a person. And Marcus going along with it? That was the real problem. We didn't really talk much on Monday. He sensed the cold shoulder and made a few attempts at conversation, but I kept my responses short and redirected him whenever he asked if something was wrong. I wasn't ready to confront him yet. I needed to be strategic. I needed him to not see this coming. By Tuesday, I was actively researching gender reveal party supplies online, learning way too much about confetti cannons and their mechanics. Patricia had already started messaging me about finalizing the details for the gender reveal party she was apparently organizing. She hadn't asked me if I wanted her to organize it. She just informed me that she was, and included a Pinterest board with approximately 5 million blue theme ideas. The invitations had gone out already. 75 people. 75. This wasn't a cute little intimate family thing, this was a production. This was Patricia making a statement to her entire social circle about the grandchild she was expecting. Or more accurately, the grandson she expected to be announcing. That's when I realized that what I was planning wasn't just petty revenge. It was necessary. It was the only way to make them understand that what they were doing was wrong. That they couldn't plan my life and my body like a military operation. I texted my best friend Jasmine that evening, "Can we talk?" She called me within 2 minutes. "What's wrong? You sound weird in text." I told her everything. All of it. The blue baby items, the get a boy in their comment, the gender reveal party I'd never agreed to, the way Marcus just accepted his mother's breeding schedule like it was totally normal. By the time I finished, I was almost crying, which annoyed me. I didn't want to be the crying pregnant woman. I wanted to be the woman who made them understand. "Oh my God," Jasmine said. "That's absolutely insane. What did Marcus say when you told him he was being ridiculous?" "I haven't yet. I'm waiting for the right moment." "The right moment for what?" I took a deep breath. This was the point where I could back out. Where I could take the high road, have a mature conversation with my husband, work through this like a functional adult. That's what I was supposed to do, right? That's what all the marriage counseling articles said. But something in me had snapped. Something that said they needed to feel what this felt like. They needed to face their own disappointment broadcast in front of 75 of their closest friends. "I'm going to sabotage the gender reveal," I said quietly. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Okay," Jasmine said slowly. "I'm listening." I explained my plan. Patricia had already ordered the confetti cannons, custom ones from some specialty party company that would shoot blue confetti everywhere when activated. The reveal was in 3 weeks. I'd already found the exact same cannons online. All I had to do was swap out the cartridges. Switch the blue confetti for pink. Let them activate their cannons in front of everyone they'd invited and have the whole thing explode into pink. Literally and figuratively. That's... Jasmine paused. "That's actually kind of genius. And also kind of insane." "Is it though?" I asked. "They're literally planning my reproductive future without me. At what point is turning their little announcement into something unexpected not just reasonable?" "It's definitely reasonable," Jasmine admitted. "But babe, have you thought about what happens after? Like, what does Marcus say? What does Patricia say? This is going to blow up your marriage if he finds out." "If he finds out," I repeated. "And he won't. I'm not planning to tell him. I'm going to let him think his mother's party company made a mistake, or that someone on her vendor list screwed up the order. And when those pink cannons go off, maybe, just maybe, everyone will realize they need to get excited about having a granddaughter. A daughter, not a disappointment. Not a failed attempt at producing an heir." I could hear the skepticism in Jasmine's breathing. "Look," I said, before she could talk me out of it. "I know this sounds dramatic. But I'm not exaggerating when I say that his family has already decided my entire life trajectory. I'm 22. I'm about to be a mother. And the only thing anyone cares about is whether I produce a son next. Not about whether I want to have another baby. Not about my body, my recovery, my mental health. Just, son or no son." "Okay," Jasmine said. "Okay. I'm in. What do you need from me?" We spent the next hour coordinating. Jasmine would help me order the pink cartridges and find a way to swap them out without Patricia noticing. She worked in event planning herself, which made her oddly qualified to help me commit what was, technically, party sabotage. We'd need to intercept the cannons before they went out, or swap them at the venue before the party. We'd need an excuse for why Jasmine would be there early. We'd need to make sure no one caught us doing it. It was a logistical nightmare. But it was also, I was starting to realize, a point of no return. After we hung up, I sat on my bed and thought about my daughter. The baby girl I was carrying. The one who would grow up in a family that, based on current evidence, saw her as a lesser being. A placeholder for what they really wanted. I thought about what I wanted for her. I wanted her to grow up knowing she was enough. That her existence wasn't contingent on her reproductive capacity. That she got to make her own choices about her body and her future. And maybe making that true meant starting with me. Starting with refusing to accept this narrative. I pulled up the confetti cannon website again and added the pink cartridges to my cart. Then I put my hand on my belly, where my daughter was growing, and made myself a promise I wouldn't let them reduce her to a consolation prize. Whatever it took. Hashtag chunk 3, complications. The pink cartridges arrived on a Thursday in an unmarked box to Jasmine's apartment. I picked them up after work, feeling like a criminal carrying contraband. Which, I guess, technically I was. A criminal mastermind who was committing confetti-based fraud against her mother-in-law. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. "You're really doing this," Jasmine said, watching me examine the cartridges in her living room. They looked identical to the blue ones Patricia had shown me in photos, same sleek design, same professional branding. Perfect for a swap. "I'm really doing this," I confirmed, though my stomach was doing backflips. "The party's in 2 weeks now." Patricia sent out a reminder to everyone yesterday. She's apparently having the venue professionally decorated with blue streamers and blue balloons and a blue cake shaped like a baby boy. An actual cake shaped like a boy. Jasmine winced. "That's a lot." "That's Patricia," I said bitterly. The plan had seemed foolproof when Jasmine and I were discussing it over the phone. But holding the actual pink cartridges in my hands made everything feel suddenly, terrifyingly real. This wasn't a fantasy I was indulging in. This was something I was actually going to do. Something that was going to blow up in all of our faces, probably literally. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, *K, Patricia wants to know if you want to wear a specific color to the reveal. She's trying to coordinate outfits for photos asterisk. I stared at that text for a long time. Marcus, asking me about wearing a color so his mother could stage manage my own gender reveal. Marcus, who hadn't once asked me how I felt about any of this. Who hadn't defended me. Who hadn't even noticed that I'd been furious with him for 5 straight days. Tell her I'll wear whatever, I responded, then immediately felt guilty. That was unfair. Marcus didn't deserve that kind of coldness. Marcus also didn't deserve to be married to a woman who was planning to publicly humiliate him and his family, but here we were. The guilt was becoming a problem, actually. That was something I hadn't anticipated. I thought I'd feel righteous and angry and justified. Instead, I was swinging between those feelings and deep, nauseating anxiety. What if I was overreacting? What if this was actually normal family behavior and I was the unreasonable one? What if sabotaging the party actually destroyed my marriage? But then I'd remember Marcus's voice on the other side of that kitchen door. We can try again pretty quick if it's a girl, like I was some kind of biological machine that could just be reset and restarted until we got the desired output. No. I wasn't overreacting. What about the swap? Jasmine asked, pulling me out of my spiraling thoughts. Have you figured out the logistics yet? I'd been thinking about this constantly. The venue was a private event space that Patricia had booked, somewhere expensive and exclusive, naturally. The confetti cannons would probably arrive the day before the party, handled by Patricia and her event coordinator. We'd need access to the venue, and we'd need to do it without anyone noticing. I was thinking the morning of the party, I said slowly, working through the plan out loud. I could tell Marcus I wanted to get there early to help set up, make sure everything was perfect. That would give us maybe an hour before the rest of the family shows up. We swap the cartridges, leave, and act completely normal. Do you think Marcus will believe that? You wanting to help set up? When you've been making it pretty clear you're annoyed with him? I'll tell him I'm feeling better about everything, I said. That I spent some time thinking about it and realized I was being unfair. That I want to be supportive and make sure his family feels appreciated. The lie rolled off my tongue almost too easily. I was getting good at lying. Marcus's wife, the liar. That felt important to note. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. You know this is going to get messy, right? Like, there's no scenario where this doesn't blow up. Of course I know that, I snapped, then softened. Sorry. I know you're trying to help. I am helping. I'm literally about to be an accomplice to party sabotage. But I'm also your best friend, so I'm obligated to point out that this might not fix anything. It might just make everything worse. She was right, and I hated it. Because the thing was, I wasn't entirely sure why I was doing this anymore. At first, it felt like justice. Like a way to make them understand how wrong they'd been, how unfair and dehumanizing and just wrong. But the more I thought about it, the more I wondered if I was just trying to hurt them. If I was trying to make them feel as small and dismissed as they'd made me feel. Except there was a baby involved. My baby. My daughter who was growing in my body while my husband's family planned around her like she was an obstacle to overcome rather than a person to celebrate. How much do you actually know about the cannons? I asked Jasmine suddenly. Like, could anything go wrong with the swap? Could they malfunction? Confetti cannons are pretty simple, she said. You swap out the cartridge, you're good. As long as you use the right size and fit, there's no reason anything would go wrong. The pink confetti might be a slightly different density than blue, but nothing that would cause a mechanical failure. They'll definitely fire. And they'll definitely shoot pink confetti everywhere. Great. So I'd be successfully humiliating my family on a large scale. That was reassuring. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from my doctor's office. The appointment reminder for my ultrasound next week, the one where I'd officially find out the baby's sex. At least, I would. Patricia and Marcus would find out at the party, in the most dramatically catastrophic way possible. I almost canceled the ultrasound right then. Almost decided to keep the sex of my baby secret, to not participate in this circus at all. But I needed to know. I needed to know that the baby girl I'd been picturing in my head actually existed. That I wasn't just imagining her as some kind of emotional shield. I have to go, I told Jasmine, carefully putting the pink cartridges back in the unmarked box. Marcus will be wondering where I am. You're sure about this? Jasmine asked as I headed toward the door. I wasn't sure about anything anymore. But I nodded anyway and told her I was. Some lies were easier to believe than others, especially when the alternative was admitting that I'd already gone too far to turn back. Chunk 4, the ultrasound. The ultrasound appointment came on a Tuesday afternoon, and I spent the entire morning feeling like I was going to throw up. Not pregnancy nausea, I'd mostly gotten past that, but actual, genuine anxiety. Once I saw the ultrasound screen, once the technician confirmed what I already knew, there would be no going back. The sabotage would stop being theoretical and start being real. Marcus had wanted to come with me. I told him he couldn't take off work, that it was just a routine checkup and there was no need for both of us to lose hours at the office. He'd seemed disappointed, which made me feel like an asshole again. Guilt had become my constant companion over the past week and a half. Guilt over the lie. Guilt over the cannon sitting in my closet in that unmarked box. Guilt over the way I'd been treating Marcus, who honestly hadn't done anything except inherit a terrible family and fail to stand up to them in the exact moment I needed him to. But he'd still said, we can try again pretty quick if it's a girl. He had said that. Dr. Morrison was a woman in her 50s who'd always been kind to me. She had pictures of her own children on her desk, 3 of them, 2 boys and a girl, in no particular order of importance. When she came in, she was already smiling. How are we feeling today? She asked, and I appreciated that she used we, like I wasn't alone in this. Good, I said, and it was only a partial lie. Excited to see the baby. Well, let's get a look at your daughter, Dr. Morrison said, and I froze. Wait. You already know? The ultrasound tech told me before I came in. Said she's very clearly a girl if you want confirmation. Apparently, she was not shy about it. Dr. Morrison was already setting up the machine, squirting the cool gel on my belly. Though of course, we can do the full scan and confirm everything is healthy and developing normally. That's the most important part. I nodded mutely as she ran the transducer over my abdomen, and then there she was. My daughter. Just a fuzzy black and white image on the screen, but unmistakably a baby. Unmistakably mine. Beautiful, Dr. Morrison said warmly. Heart rate is perfect. Size is perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, well, we'll get a better look in a moment. Everything looks exactly as it should. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. There was my daughter. The person my husband's family had been dismissing as inadequate before she even existed. The person I'd been so angry about protecting that I was now planning to publicly humiliate everyone I was going to spend the rest of my life with. What the hell was I doing? The thought hit me so hard that I actually gasped. Are you okay? Dr. Morrison asked, glancing at me with concern. Did I hit something? No, I'm fine. Just emotional. She smiled and returned her attention to the screen. That's completely normal. Parenthood is hitting you, probably. The reality of it. The reality of it. Yes. The reality was that I was a liar and a saboteur, and my motivations had become increasingly unclear. The reality was that my marriage was currently built on deception, and not just on my side. The reality was that I was about to cause a scene that would probably be talked about for years, and my daughter would grow up knowing that her family's first big memory of her was chaos. Dr. Morrison printed out several ultrasound photos, which she handed to me with a knowing smile. For Dad? She asked. Sure, I said automatically, even though the thought of handing these photos to Marcus made my stomach clench. He'd show them to Patricia. Patricia would see the proof of the girl she didn't want, and then she'd show up to that party expecting blue confetti and a future patriarchy, and instead. Everything look good to you? Dr. Morrison asked, and I realized she'd been talking while I was spiraling. What? Yes. Sorry. Yes, everything looks great. You're going to be a wonderful mother, she said, and there was something in her tone that made me think she meant it. Not the obligatory thing people said to every pregnant woman, but something that implied she could actually see something in me worth celebrating. I left the office with the ultrasound photos burning in my pocket like evidence. Back at my apartment, I sat on the couch and stared at the images for a long time. In one of them, the baby appeared to be yawning. In another, her hand was up near her face. She looked like she was already a person with thoughts and feelings and preferences. She wasn't a placeholder. She wasn't a consolation prize. She wasn't even a girl yet, she was just a person. A tiny person, but a person nonetheless. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia, asterisk so excited for Saturday. The florist just finished the blue arrangements and they're stunning. This is going to be the most beautiful reveal party our family has ever seen, asterisk. Saturday. 2 days away. I pulled the unmarked box out of my closet and stared at the pink cartridges inside. They seemed to be mocking me now. What was I even accomplishing with this? A moment of shock? Some temporary satisfaction at seeing Patricia's disappointed face? And for what? So my daughter could grow up knowing her arrival had caused a family rupture? So my marriage could start with a lie of this magnitude? My phone buzzed again. Marcus, asterisk K, you done with your appointment? How did it go, asterisk? I stared at that text. I could tell him right now. I could tell him everything. The sabotage, the cannons, the plan. We could figure this out together. We could have a real conversation instead of this dance we'd been doing where we both pretended everything was fine. But then I remembered him on the other side of that kitchen door, agreeing with his mother. Not defending me. Not even questioning whether, trying again quickly, was something he should discuss with me first. It went great, I typed back. Everything is perfect. Another lie to add to the collection. I looked at the ultrasound photos again, at my daughter's tiny yawning face, and felt something break inside me. Not dramatically. Just a small, quiet fracture in whatever conviction I'd been using to justify this plan. Saturday was going to change everything. I just wasn't sure if it would change it for better or worse. Hashtag chunk 5, the point of no return. Friday morning, I woke up to find Marcus already gone. He'd left a note on the kitchen counter, asterisk had to go in early. Patricia called, she wants to do a family breakfast before the party tomorrow. Just us, you, me, and my parents. She thinks it'll be special. I told her yes. Hope that's okay. Love you, asterisk. It wasn't okay. It was the opposite of okay. A family breakfast meant sitting across from Patricia while she glowed with anticipation, meant watching her face as she mentally prepared herself to finally have the son she'd been manifesting into existence. It meant performing normalcy while the pink cartridges sat in my closet like a ticking time bomb. I called Marcus immediately. Hey, I was going to call you during lunch, he said, and he sounded tired. I know the breakfast thing is last minute, but my mom really wanted. I can't do it, I said. What do you mean you can't do it? I mean I can't sit there and pretend everything is fine while your mother talks about her grandson who doesn't exist. There was a long pause. She's excited, babe. That's all it is. She's excited about the party. She's excited about a boy, I corrected. There's a difference. Okay, look, I know my family isn't perfect. Marcus. I cut him off, my voice harder than I intended. Your mother bought baby clothes without asking me. Your mother planned a shower without asking me. Your mother has been treating this entire pregnancy like it's an audition for which gender your child should be. And you just went along with it. The silence on the other end was deafening. I defended you, he said finally, and his voice was quiet. Almost hurt. I told my mom that if we had a girl, that was it. That was our daughter and we'd love her. I told her we weren't trying again quickly for anything. I felt my stomach drop. You did? Yes. After you left that day, after I realized how upset you were, I had a whole conversation with her. She cried, actually. She apologized for the baby clothes, said she was getting ahead of herself, that she was just so excited to be a grandmother that she wasn't thinking clearly. I sat down on the kitchen chair. All this time I thought Marcus was on their side. I'd built an entire narrative in my head about him being complicit, about our marriage being fundamentally broken. But maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe I'd been so angry that I hadn't actually listened to him. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because you seemed so mad at me that I didn't know how to bring it up without it sounding like I was asking for a medal. I just wanted things to calm down. I wanted you to feel better. I pressed my forehead against the cool kitchen table. I feel like everything is falling apart. It doesn't have to, Marcus said, and there was something almost pleading in his voice. Come to breakfast. Come to the party. We'll celebrate our daughter together. My family isn't going to be happy about it at first, but they'll get over it. That's what families do. What if I've already done something? The words came out before I could stop them. What if I've already done something you can't forgive? What are you talking about? I opened my mouth. Closed it. The moment hung between us like a held breath. I could tell him. I could confess everything right now, and he could hate me, and we could deal with the fallout before the party instead of after. It would be the right thing to do. Nothing, I said instead. I'm just stressed. Hormones. You know. He didn't sound convinced, but he let it go. So you'll come to breakfast? Yeah. What time? 8 o'clock. My parents' house. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing. The pink cartridges were still in my closet. The party was still tomorrow. And Marcus, kind, gentle Marcus who'd actually stood up to his mother and had been trying to protect me the whole time, was going to look at me with utter confusion and betrayal when the pink confetti fell. I needed to think. I needed to actually think about what I was doing instead of just riding the wave of my own anger. I called Jasmine. Please tell me you're canceling, she said instead of hello. How did you know? Because I've been thinking about this all week, and I realized I helped you do something really stupid. I'm your best friend and I basically enabled you to blow up your marriage. He defended me, I said quietly. With his mother. I didn't know. Of course he did. He's a good guy. Which is probably why you're calling me right now instead of feeling good about your plan. I walked to my bedroom closet and stared at the unmarked box. It seemed so small now. So insignificant. How had I convinced myself that the satisfaction of seeing Patricia's face fall was worth potentially destroying my marriage? Worth potentially creating a permanent rift that my daughter would have to grow up knowing about? What do I do? I asked. That depends, Jasmine said. Do you actually want to sabotage your marriage, or were you just angry? I was angry. Are you still angry? I thought about it. The anger was still there, a low simmer in my chest. But underneath it was something else now. Fear. Regret. The sinking realization that I'd been so focused on punishing Patricia that I'd stopped thinking about what it would actually cost. Not as much, I admitted. Then cancel the sabotage. Tell Marcus the truth. Let the party be what it's supposed to be, a celebration of your daughter. Patricia will be disappointed for a moment, and then she'll get over it. And your family will be intact. She's going to be so disappointed, I whispered. Yes. And that's on her, not you. You're not responsible for managing her emotions. You're responsible for your marriage and your child. After I hung up with Jasmine, I sat on my bed and looked at the ultrasound photos again. My daughter. My beautiful, perfect daughter who deserved better than being born into a situation where her first big memory was her mother's revenge plot. I pulled the unmarked box out from the back of my closet. I held it in my hands for a long moment, feeling the weight of it, not physical weight, but the weight of everything it represented. The anger. The hurt. The point of no return. Then I walked to the kitchen trash can and I threw it away. I didn't feel relief. Not yet. What I felt was terrified. Because now I had to tell Marcus the truth, and I had no idea if he would ever forgive me. #Chunk6, the truth before the party. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to Marcus in the dark, listening to him breathe, wondering how many more nights I'd get to do this before he realized what I'd almost done. The confession sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. The family breakfast was supposed to be at 8. I woke up at 5:30 and couldn't fall back asleep. Marcus stirred around 6, reaching for me in that automatic way he always did. I let him pull me closer, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne and sleep, trying to memorize the way his arms felt around me before everything changed. Morning, baby, he murmured into my hair. You're tense. Just nervous about today, I said, which was true enough. He kissed the top of my head. It's going to be fine. Better than fine. It'll be perfect. He pulled back to look at me, and even in the dim pre-dawn light, I could see the hope in his eyes. Our daughter. I still can't believe it. I wanted to cry. Instead, I nodded and got out of bed. The drive to his parents' house felt like driving to my own execution. Marcus held my hand the entire way, occasionally squeezing it reassuringly, completely unaware that I was about to detonate whatever goodwill he'd managed to rebuild with his mother this past week. Patricia answered the door looking like she'd been awake for hours. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup immaculate, and she was wearing a blue blouse. Of course she was wearing blue. She pulled Marcus into a tight hug, then turned to me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. You look beautiful, dear. Pregnancy is really glowing on you. Thanks, I managed. The breakfast table was laden with an excessive spread, French toast, bacon, fresh fruit, pastries from the bakery Patricia always went to. She'd done this for us. She was trying. That realization made everything worse. Dennis, Marcus's father, was already seated, reading the paper. He folded it when we came in and greeted us both warmly. He was a quieter man than Patricia, but he was good. He'd never been anything but kind to me. There are our two favorite people, he said, standing to pull out my chair. As we sat down, Patricia started talking about the day's schedule. The party was starting at 2, but she wanted to do some final setup checks at noon. The caterers were coming at 1. The photographer had confirmed their arrival time. She was in full event coordinator mode, reciting details with practiced precision. I still can't believe you were able to do all this, I said, and I wasn't being sarcastic. I genuinely couldn't believe it. It's very elaborate. Well, this is a special day, Patricia said, reaching over to pat my hand. My first grandchild. Your first child. It deserves to be memorable. It will be, I said quietly. I have to admit, Patricia continued, buttering her toast, I was a bit presumptuous earlier in the pregnancy. I got ahead of myself with the decorations and the gifts. Marcus told me you weren't happy about that, and he was right to call me out. I was being insensitive. She looked directly at me when she said it, and I could see genuine contrition in her expression. This was a woman who'd been wrong and had actually admitted it. Who'd apologized. Who was trying to do better. I appreciate that, I said, my voice tight. Thank you for saying that. Of course, Patricia said. And I want you to know that whatever we're having today, I'm thrilled. A daughter will be wonderful. Girls are amazing. I'll finally get to take her shopping, teach her things. She trailed off, getting a little misty-eyed. I'm sorry for being so fixated on the gender. That wasn't fair to you. Dennis reached over and squeezed his wife's shoulder. The affection between them was obvious, and it struck me suddenly that Patricia probably thought she was doing something romantic, giving her son a legacy, creating a family dynasty. She'd been thoughtless, but she hadn't been malicious. She'd been swept up in some fantasy that had nothing to do with me or Marcus or our actual child. It's okay, I heard myself say, even though it wasn't completely okay. I know you're excited. Breakfast continued. Marcus talked about work. Dennis told a story about something that happened at his golf club. Patricia asked me about prenatal vitamins and whether I'd had any cravings. She was making genuine conversation, trying to connect with me. Halfway through my French toast, my phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. You can check that, Patricia said. I don't mind. I pulled out my phone and saw a string of messages from Jasmine. Hey, just double-checking you didn't do anything crazy. Like, you threw away the cartridges, right? Text me back, I'm actually nervous. Asterisk hello? I'm freaking out, asterisk. I quickly typed back, asterisk yes. I threw them away. I'm at the breakfast, asterisk. Her response came immediately, asterisk thank God. Seriously, I was about to drive over to your house and check your trash, asterisk. I put the phone away and tried to focus on my toast, but my appetite was gone. Everything all right? Marcus asked, noticing my expression. Fine. Just Jasmine confirming she's coming to the party. It was a lie, and I hated lying to him, especially now when I was already about to tell him something that would hurt him far more than any lie could. After breakfast, Patricia insisted on showing me some final decoration touches in her dining room, where the party would be held. Streamers and pastel colors hung from the ceiling. There was a banner that said baby on board, and cute little table settings with cards that had the baby's due date on them. No gendered colors, no future patriarch imagery. Just a baby shower. A normal, lovely baby shower. What do you think? Patricia asked hopefully. It's beautiful, I said, and I meant it. Really beautiful. Thank you for doing all this. She hugged me, and I hugged her back, feeling like the worst person in the world. On the drive home, Marcus was quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of contentment, but the thinking quiet. The concerned quiet. You okay? He asked as he pulled into our driveway. I couldn't do it. I couldn't confess right now, not on the morning of the party, not when he was happy and hopeful and his family was trying. Just tired, I said. I think I need a nap before we have to leave. He kissed my temple. Go rest. I'll wake you up in a couple hours. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Marcus move around in the living room, and I realized that by not telling him the truth right now, I'd made a choice. The party would happen. The pink confetti would fall. And then, after everything was over, after his mother had her moment of disappointment and moved on, then I would tell him what I'd almost done. It was still a lie. But at least it was a calculated one. #chunk7. The nap never came. I lay in bed for 2 hours, staring at the ceiling fan as it rotated lazily above me, my mind spinning faster than the blades. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Patricia's face at breakfast, the genuine contrition, the way she'd actually apologized. I heard Marcus's voice saying our daughter with such wonder and love that it made my chest ache. By noon, I gave up pretending to sleep and got out of bed. Marcus was in the kitchen making sandwiches when I came out. He looked up from the counter with a smile. Feeling better? A little, I lied. We should probably start getting ready. It's only 12:30. The party doesn't start until 2. We have time. He gestured to the sandwich he'd made. You should eat something. I wasn't hungry, but I sat down anyway and picked at the food while Marcus chattered about work, about names we'd been considering, about how his dad had texted him saying he was really looking forward to the party. Normal, happy things. Things that belonged to the version of this day where I hadn't almost blown everything up. My phone buzzed again. Jasmine. I silenced it without looking. Is everything okay with Jasmine? Marcus asked, noticing the repeated vibrations. She seems like she's blowing you up. She's just excited about the party, I said, which was technically true, albeit not in the way Marcus probably thought. She wants to help with setup. He smiled. That's nice. Your friends are great. I almost laughed at the irony of that statement. My friends were great, great at helping me plan sabotage, great at covering for me, great at enabling me to orchestrate emotional destruction. What kind of friends were those, exactly? At 1 o'clock, we started getting ready. I showered and tried on 3 different maternity dresses before settling on a navy blue one with white polka dots. The irony of wearing blue to my daughter's reveal party wasn't lost on me. Marcus came up behind me as I was fastening my necklace, wrapping his arms around my waist and resting his chin on my shoulder. You look beautiful, he said. I feel like a fraud, I replied before I could stop myself. He pulled back, turning me to face him. Hey. What's going on? You've been weird all day. This was it. This was the moment where I could tell him everything. Where I could explain about the cartridges, about my rage, about the plan I'd almost executed. Where I could confess before the party even started and give him the chance to process, to be angry, to decide if he could forgive me before his family watched pink confetti fall from the sky. But as I looked at his face, at the love and concern and hope there, all the words stuck in my throat like swallowed glass. Just pregnancy hormones, I said, squeezing his hand. And nerves about the party. It's a lot of people. He studied me for a moment longer, and I could see him wanting to push, to dig deeper. Instead, he kissed my forehead. It's going to be great. I promise. We arrived at Patricia's house at 1:45 p.m. The driveway was already lined with cars, relatives, friends, people from Marcus's work. My own parents were there, my mother already helping Patricia with final touches on the food table. When she saw me, she lit up with that particular brand of joy that only mothers could muster. There she is, my mom called out, pulling me into a careful hug around my belly. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Good, I said, hugging her back and trying to breathe normally. Everything looks amazing. The house was transformed. Patricia hadn't been exaggerating about the setup. There were elegant floral arrangements, a dessert table laden with pink and yellow treats, a gift table stacked high with wrapped boxes. String lights were draped across the dining room where the actual reveal would happen. There was a photographer adjusting her camera in the corner. Everything was tasteful and beautiful and completely devoid of any weird gender ideology. My mother leaned in closer. Patricia told me about the whole blue thing from earlier. I'm glad she recognized that wasn't appropriate. She's really trying, honey. I can tell. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Guests filtered in over the next 30 minutes. My aunts, Marcus's cousins, friends from his office, my own college roommates. The energy was excited and celebratory. People admired my pregnant belly. They asked me questions about the due date, what we were thinking for names, whether we'd started decorating the nursery. It was all the normal, expected stuff. Jasmine arrived at 1:58 p.m., slipping into the house with a suspicious amount of urgency. She found me in the kitchen and grabbed my arm, pulling me into the pantry. Tell me you actually did it, she whispered, her voice urgent. Tell me those cartridges are in a trash can somewhere far away from this house. They're gone, I confirmed. In the dumpster behind the grocery store 2 miles away. She exhaled with visible relief. Okay. Good. I've been having a panic attack all morning. Like, seriously, I could barely function at work. Jasmine. No, listen. She held up a hand. I've been thinking about this all day, and I need to say something. I'm glad you didn't do it. I know I helped you plan it, and I was all in this morning, but I'm actually relieved you threw them away. I stared at her. Why didn't you stop me then? Because I thought that's what you wanted. But watching you at that breakfast, seeing how his parents are actually trying. I don't know. It felt wrong. Like, righteous anger for a moment, sure, but then what? Marcus gets humiliated, his family gets blindsided, and for what? So you could feel superior for 5 seconds? She shook her head. That's not who you are. Before I could respond, someone called out from the living room, it's time. Everyone gather around. Jasmine squeezed my hand and left the pantry. I followed her out, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode through my ribs. This was it. The moment that would determine everything. Not just about whether Patricia would be disappointed or delighted, but about what kind of person I actually was. What kind of marriage I wanted to have. What kind of mother I wanted to be. Patricia was ushering everyone into the decorated dining room. Marcus appeared at my side, taking my hand and pulling me toward the reveal setup, a decorated box with a button that would supposedly determine the confetti color that fell. Except I knew what color it would be. Pink. Genuinely, actually pink, because I'd chosen to be better than my worst impulses. I just hoped it would be enough. #Chunk8. The room fell silent as everyone gathered around the decorated box. Patricia stood to one side, her hands clasped together so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Marcus's father had his arm around her shoulders. My own parents were positioned near the back, smiling with a kind of pride that came from watching their daughter become a mother. Marcus squeezed my hand. Ready? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Okay, he said, grinning at the assembled crowd. Here we go. He reached toward the button. I held my breath. This was the moment where everything could have gone wrong, where family drama would have exploded across Patricia's beautiful dining room, where relationships would have fractured beyond repair, where I would have become the villain of my own story. The button clicked. Pink confetti exploded from the cannons with a soft, shimmering cascade. It fell like rose petals, like dreams, like the future I decided to choose instead of the revenge I'd planned. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Everyone was shouting, crying happy tears, hugging each other. Patricia's hand flew to her mouth. For a moment, I couldn't read her expression. Then her eyes filled with tears, genuine tears, and she turned to Marcus's father with a look of such pure joy that something in my chest finally unclenched. A daughter, she whispered. We're having a daughter. Marcus pulled me into his arms, lifting me slightly off the ground and spinning me around. A girl, he kept saying, over and over. We're having a girl. I can't believe it. A girl. When he set me down, he kissed me deeply, right there in front of everyone. It felt like a reset button. Like a moment where we could all move forward without the weight of his mother's secret disappointment hanging over us. Patricia made her way through the crowd toward us, her movements slightly uncertain. I tensed, waiting for what she might say. Instead, she pulled me into a careful hug. Congratulations, she said softly, and I could hear the sincerity in her voice. To both of you. To all of us. I'm so sorry about this morning. About everything. I hugged her back, and I realized something that caught me completely off guard. I believed her. The apology. The joy. All of it. Thank you, I said. And thank you for this party. It's beautiful. We're going to shop for pink together, Patricia announced, pulling back to look at me with a watery smile. I want to help you set up the nursery the way you want it. Not the way I think it should be. The way you want it. My mother appeared beside us, wiping her own tears, and suddenly we were all hugging, me, Patricia, my mom. The moment stretched out, warm and genuine, and I felt something release inside me that I hadn't even known was wound tight. The party shifted into celebration mode after that. People mingled, ate, admired the pink cupcakes with tiny girl toppers. Someone started a game where guests had to guess the baby's weight and due date. Jasmine found me on the edge of the crowd, squeezing my hand without saying anything. We both knew what had almost happened. We both knew how close I'd come to destroying this moment, to destroying my marriage, to becoming someone I didn't want to be. An hour into the festivities, Marcus pulled me aside into his parents' study. Okay, something is definitely going on with you, he said, closing the door behind us. You've been acting off all week. The hormones explanation doesn't cut it anymore. Talk to me. My stomach dropped. This was it, the other reckoning I'd been dreading. The one where I had to choose between continuing to lie or finally telling him the truth. I took a deep breath and sat down on the edge of the desk. I almost sabotaged the reveal, I said quietly. I was so angry at what I overheard you and your mom talking about trying again if it was a girl, about the baby needing to be a boy to carry on the family name. And I felt like I was just supposed to be a vessel. Like my body wasn't my own, and my preferences didn't matter, and the baby didn't matter unless it had the right anatomy. Marcus's face went pale. What do you mean you almost sabotaged it? I was going to switch the confetti cartridges. I had a friend help me plan it. This morning, I actually bought pink cartridges and was planning to swap them in before the party. I was so angry, and I wanted everyone to see their disappointment. I wanted to humiliate them the way they were humiliating me. He didn't say anything for a long moment. His hands slowly formed fists at his sides. But I didn't do it, I continued quickly. I threw the cartridges away. I realized that destroying the reveal and hurting you and your family wouldn't actually fix anything. It wouldn't make me feel better. It would just make everything worse. And I didn't want to be that person. You plan to publicly humiliate my family, Marcus said slowly, working through the words. You were planning to do that when I walked into the room to press that button. Yes. I was angry, and I was hurt, and I felt invisible. But then, I paused, searching for the words. Then this morning, your mom apologized. She really apologized. And I heard you talking about our daughter with so much love. And I realized that revenge doesn't fix anything. It just breaks things. Marcus sat down heavily in the chair across from me. You should have told me. Instead of planning sabotage, you should have told me how you were feeling. I know I should have. I'm telling you now, and I'm being honest about how close I came to going through with it. I'm not proud of myself. I'm not asking you to be proud of me. But I need you to know that I chose differently. I chose us. He was quiet for so long that I started to panic. Had I just destroyed my marriage by confessing? Had honesty been the wrong choice after all? The cartridges are really gone, he finally asked. Yes. Thrown away at a grocery store dumpster 2 miles away. Jasmine knows where. That's it. He nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me. And thank you for throwing them away. For choosing not to do it. Are you angry? Yeah, he said honestly. I'm angry that you felt you couldn't talk to me. I'm angry that my family made you feel that way. And I'm angry that our marriage got to a point where you thought public humiliation was the answer. He looked up at me. But I'm also relieved. And I love you for making the better choice. Even when you had already committed to the worse one. I started crying then, real tears, the kind that come from months of stress and anger and fear finally releasing. Marcus pulled me onto his lap and held me while I cried. We sat like that for several minutes, just breathing together, existing in the mess of our relationship and somehow finding solid ground in it anyway. We need to talk about this, he said softly. About boundaries with my family, about communication between us, about how we make decisions together. Real conversations, not just after-the-fact confessions. I know, I said. I want that too. But right now, he continued, right now we have a party full of people celebrating our daughter, and we should probably get back before someone notices we're gone. I nodded, wiping my eyes carefully so I wouldn't ruin my makeup. As we walked back toward the dining room, Marcus stopped me with a hand on my arm. For what it's worth, he said, I'm really glad we're having a girl. I wouldn't change a thing. I squeezed his hand. Me too. And I meant it.